My name is Leah Jones and I am 20 years old. I was born in Reading, South England, in 2002 and I have lived there ever since. I completed my GCSEs in 2018 and started A-levels in chemistry, biology and psychology. However, a year into studying these, I realised that this was not a path that I wanted to follow. Since I was younger, I have always been drawn to being creative, including my interest in art and drawing since a young age. I had never done any photography before, however I believe that my creative side encouraged me to give it a go. After deciding my A-level choices were not for me, I decided to search for opportunities where I could learn photography and take it up as more than just a hobby. After searching around multiple industries within film and photography, I learnt that photography was a trade within the Royal Air Force. A family friend who is currently in the Air Force helped to guide me in the right direction and also helped to inform me on what military life would be like. I began my application process and, a year later, I started all of my training, which consisted of a 10-week basic military training course, which then led to a 9-month photography and videography course. I completed this at the Defence School of Photography at RAF Cosford in Wolverhampton, and I gained a level 3 in photography and a level 4 in videography. Aside from my photography, I had always been interested in the outdoors, travelling, trying new things and exploring what I am capable of. This helped with my decision to join the military, as you are made to discover yourself by doing all of those things. With photography also being a trade within the RAF, I was keen to apply, as it allowed me to combine being adventurous and my creative side into a career path. However, the opportunity to have access to a wide range of learning materials and resources in photography within the RAF, and all of the photo opportunities, was a main reason why I chose to join. With my career as a Royal Air Force photographer, I am tasked on taking images of a wide range of things. This could include aircraft photography to showcase the activity within the service, parades, other events, and many other things related to the Royal Air Force. I have been in the job now for over a year and I feel as if the experience I have gained so far has enabled me to improve with my photography by learning and practicing many new techniques. The gear I currently use is provided by the military. We use a Canon 5D Mark IV and we have multiple lenses such as a 50mm, 35mm, 24-70mm and a 70-200mm. All of these lenses are used for different jobs that we are tasked on, and therefore I have had experience with using different lenses and what benefits and effects each one has on my photography. We also have other useful kit such as flash guns and Studio Bowens lights for portrait images. As well as having a passion for photographing military events such as the aircraft and parades etc., I also take an interest in photography relating to animals and wildlife. Due to the fact that I am new to this hobby, I have not yet found a set photographic style as I am still finding my feet. However, I have always taken an interest in animals as I used to horse ride for around 6 to 7 years before I joined the Air Force. This interest has led me to base my out-of-work photography on dogs and horses by experimenting with my skills and what shots work best for me. I have found that I have a large passion in capturing these images of the animals, and I have slowly been able to build a small portfolio of these. As well as beginning to start experimenting and photographing my family and friends' animals, such as dogs and horses, I would love to start taking up wildlife photography. I once took these pictures when I was out photographing my dog on a walk. When I got back and began processing these images, it made me think about wildlife photography as a whole and the range of opportunities this style brings. I decided to do some research on technique, tips and other information to help me understand the style more. I started off by looking into simple basics of wildlife photography such as equipment to use, places to go and techniques to use. I then began to look at examples of this and I got lost in the range of images that people had produced. I began to realise that it was the art of capturing moments that are not usually seen through the human eye that really drew me into the style. Henri Cartier-Bresson, a French humanist photographer, once said that to photograph is to hold one's breath when all faculties converge to capture fleeting reality. It's at that precise moment that mastering an image becomes a great physical and intellectual joy. This quote backed up my point of how, by photographing wildlife, you are able to capture moments that are so rare to be seen and quick to happen that it gives the feeling of achievement and joy of capturing it. As I have not yet gone out and experimented with wildlife photography, I decided to look into some photographers that specialise in this style to get some inspiration for potential images and ideas. Will Berard Lucas is a wildlife photographer that bases most of his shots in Africa due to how, as a child, Will spent many years living with his family in Tanzania. In 2012, him and his wife moved to Zambia, and since then, he has based most of his shots in Kenya. The images that Will has produced has opened my eyes to such an opportunity within photography, whether that be capturing special moments with wildlife, or the travel element and exploring the world. Will said, I endeavour to capture intimate portraits of animals that convey a sense of awe and wonder. To achieve this, I often prefer to get close and use a wide-angle lens. In the early days, I would crawl up to animals whenever possible, but there were limited subjects where this approach was feasible. Because of this, Will then built BeetleCam, a remote-control camera buggy which he uses to capture close-up, ground-level photographs of potentially dangerous African wildlife. Will's passion and perseverance for his style has really inspired me to experiment and dedicate my photography to wildlife, and so I am interested in starting to experiment around local nature parks using my 70 to 200mm lens to then see whether or not I should progress further. I believe that I can use this passion as a way of creating a theme for my MA course and final project. As well as animals, I have also had a passion for fine art images. During my training, I had to produce 6 images for a photo essay. I produced these 6 and titled my work Eleutheromania, the intense and irresistible desire for freedom. I based the project around the process of COVID and our emotions during lockdown. This exposure to fine art has made me think about how I could combine my 2 passions of wildlife and fine art. With some research, I found these images that, in my eyes, is a mixture of the 2. My goal is to be able to produce wildlife photography whilst using fine art to potentially portray a message relating to nature, global issues, littering, and anything that affects wildlife. I hope to be able to start a new chapter within my passion for photography, and I am excited to begin.